this Centre Court MBA Festival in February. We're bringing in the voices of senior staff and the leadership to really get a better understanding of the MBA program itself, its curriculum, the different formats, and of course how you can personalize that experience to match your personal trajectory. And I'm delighted to welcome Urs Peyer. Urs is the Dean of Degree Programs at INSEAD, which of course includes their wonderful full-time MBA program. Urs, thank you very much for joining us at Centre Court. And here you are. You've been at the school, what, about 20 years, in the last 8 years head of the degree programs. Perhaps we can start just with that, a sense of INSEAD as an institution, as the banner behind you describes, the business school for the world. Perhaps just how that incredible international mix really then translates into the culture of the school.
Well, thank you, Matt. Great pleasure to be here, and welcome everyone. So really happy to represent a bit INSEAD and the MBA program. INSEAD, obviously a place where, from a mission point of view, we bring together people, cultures, and ideas to develop responsible leaders who transform business and society. So from an institutional point of view, this is most represented in the MBA program, where we bring together about 1,000 MBAs a year from many different nationalities, up to 90 nationalities mixing. So very excited to talk and tell you a bit more about INSEAD.
Well, we talked about, what, 88 nationalities typically in the MBA program, and with Virginie Fougia, we'll be focusing on that whole admissions process. But, you know, the school has successfully operated across the 2 campuses of Fontainebleau in France and Singapore for over 20 years. There's now Abu Dhabi, building the research center in San Francisco. So, you know, when you talk about that international dimension, it really is something that permeates through all aspects of the school, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I think the cool thing is, since the foundation, the idea of INSEAD was to bring people together, and that means like not having no dominant culture. And originally we started in Fontainebleau in France, and then thought that, okay, Asia is such an important upcoming part. This was more than 20 years ago, established in a campus in Singapore, but with the same notion. There is no MBA coming to INSEAD to just learn about Singapore or just learn about France. Both of those locations are really diverse. Plus it's integrated, as you have said, like students exchange between the campuses on a period by period basis if they want to. And then having an expansion to the Middle East was really our idea of getting Middle East and Africa more into the knowledge play, by allowing students to also visit that part of the world and getting first-hand knowledge of that. And now also in North America through our San Francisco hub, where we hope to explore after pandemic a bit more the opportunities and the culture that is created in the Silicon Valley type environment.
Right. Graduates of the MBA program enjoy careers across industry, consulting, finance, entrepreneurs, that you name it, and they're pursuing their careers in that. You've also sort of focused on this idea of business as a force for good as part of your mission. Can you speak briefly to that?
Yeah, so business as a force for good, I think for us, again, has been there since the beginning. It was when our founder, Georges Doriot, who was a professor at Harvard Business School and himself the inventor of venture capital, that industry, when he thought of what is the role of business, it was to establish really bridges between cultures, and at that time in European countries, so that they work together to build businesses that really advance society rather than people fighting with each other. So it's in our DNA. I think we've re-articulated it because it has been clear that over the past few decades, business and society often start to clash. And we have to make sure that our business world understands and gets tools that allow to make sure that business and society work to advance not just performance in business, but also progress on the society side. And this is what is behind the drive of the Business as a Force for Good, both campaign to advance our knowledge as well as to enhance our teaching so that we start to solve or help solve these clashes that we see between business and society.
Right. Unlike Harvard Business School, Stanford, Wharton, top US schools, from day one, your choice had always been to deliver the MBA program in a very intensive one-year format. Someone has described it like drinking water from a fire hydrant. As we look at the curriculum, how flexible is it? There's obviously a core course that students will go through, but then I'm sure many options to personalize the learning experience.
Yeah. So the 1 year was sort of, it was innovative, and it was in partly designed because we wanted to get, I would say, a little bit more mature MBAs educated, so people with experience. You know, sometimes in the US you have MBAs that you don't need experience or very little experience. For us, on average, we're looking at 5.5 years of work experience. Then you can really concentrate in 1 year, and you use and you draw upon the experience that people have rather than having them do a lot more classroom work. So the 1 year works. It's very intense, as you say, indeed, both academically as well as socially. It is a melting pot, right? And it's what I would call a pressure cooker environment that really makes sure that people bond together based upon the academics, but also based upon the social. So the 1 year is divided into two segments, about half and half. Half is about core courses where everyone takes it together, and half is you choose what you want to do. 4 months you're in your starting campus, 6 months you get to choose between different locations. So even in that 1 year, it's not just in one location, it's multiple. You have the choice to do multiple locations as well. So the 1 year option, in terms of core curriculum, I look at it in two ways. One is I definitely want general managers. So they need to know everything, and I don't want anyone to be fooled by a new trend. Even, you know, we haven't heard about it. You should be able to think, these are the fundamentals. I can sort of link it to what I learned about the fundamentals. And then obviously in electives, you get to choose and you get to go deeper where you want. The second reason I want core curriculum is also about socializing. Essentially, you know, having these small groups work together, and you don't have a choice. You're being put in these groups and you have to make it work. It's sometimes painful, but it's always insightful, right? In, you know, not just the learning about finance or accounting from different perspectives, but also the learning about who does the learning with you, and what you learn through this group dynamic is super important. And therefore, having core curriculum is one way of making sure you have this continuation where, you know, no one can escape. You have to address the challenges, and that really builds leadership skills. So.
In offering in that 1 year format, and as you said, you know, individuals that on average have 5-6 years professional experience, obviously there's a range of those profiles. Many are perhaps looking for a career transition, and that's something even in the 12 months that you're able to successfully offer. A tremendous number of graduates will change sector, they'll change geography, and perhaps change function too.
Yeah, it is indeed intense, right? So it means early on you already have to start exploring what you want to do, and then very quickly start to really go deep and explore the different opportunities. But yes, at the end of the program, we have lots of people changing any number of dimension, being jobs, industry, location. So that in terms, it works in a 1 year format. And I have seen actually that, you know, people have now start to come in and are more willing to explore than in the past. In the past, there were people that, you know, had like very clear set, this is where I want to go. I think now people are a little bit more open to explore different opportunities before they then decide, okay, I want this, I want that.
Right.
And the second thing that has changed is entrepreneurial sort of aspirations. I think we've we've now also in the program made it that it's more structured, such that we help our students that are interested in really starting in their own business right out of the program to have time during the program to really focus on that. In the past, this was more, we give you the general management education, we give you a bit of time to explore, and then probably you first need a job. And then 2 years after you start your business. Now, I think we're set up such that those who are really serious about it can use that year successfully to start their business afterwards.
Right. The viewers of Centre Court and readers of Poets and Quants are looking at MBA programs at the world's top business schools. Is there anything for you that you really feel is that key differentiator for the INSEAD MBA, or even perhaps courses that you offer? You've got Professor Randy Carlock teaching family business. There's an incredible range of electives, things that you think are truly distinct to the school.
Yeah. And I think to the school, I would say the big things are really different. Is the 1 year intensity, is the global opportunity within 1 year, that you can do. And I think the diversity aspect, which is, like you said, 90 or 88 different nationalities coming together. That's one way of looking at it in terms of data. But what's really important about diversity is there's no dominant culture. So you're coming to INSEAD and you're going to be a minority in some dimension. And I think that just makes a total difference in terms of, who speaks up, what is being spoken about, how to be articulated, as opposed to other cultures or other countries where you have probably more the norm of an American education, and people try to understand what that is, which is perfectly fine. But at INSEAD, it's this melting pot, so you have to deal with all the diversity, the good things and the challenges it provides. So I would say that's one of the key differences. Why do I make that point? Is that classes are therefore also, it's not just about the family business. It's not just about the finance. It always has this dimension of diversity in it that brings these different perspectives together. I think even in the sort of ethics curriculum or ethics core courses, it comes to life, right? When you have the cultures like from America where you say like bribing, no, it's illegal and all that. And then you have people that are very much used to seeing this. And then you have an interesting interaction and discussion around it. And it opens people's eyes to what is happening in other parts of the world and that it's not so clear cut. And I think that's some of the things that you can discover in many of the classes that we offer. And I think, most schools offer a similar portfolio. Right. If you think about specific courses that we have, which we're very proud of, for example, is our entrepreneurial capstone, which was based on what we call the first 100 days. So imagine you're running a business venture, you're just in charge and you're being challenged to a couple of tasks. So you condense your first 100 days into 3 days of active learning with role plays, with real role players, representing VC capital, real people that give you the hard times and the challenges and opportunities to grow. So I think that's one of the courses that's fairly unique at INSEAD, where we have in one class there is easily 200-300 role players participating on this 3-day journey. So very exciting. I won't give you any details because that's always fun to explore as a student, but certainly a cool course.
You talk about discovery and opening the students' eyes, whether it's to different cultures, ways of doing business. So alongside those sort of hard skills, the technical skills that are embedded in that core curriculum, how on this INSEAD MBA journey are you also then teaching the soft skills of leadership, perhaps empathy, grit and determination that will then serve them well in the next steps of their career?
Yeah, good point. So I always like to say, you get hired for your hard skills and you get fired for your soft skills. So definitely something that, when we sort of review with alumni, what is it that they wish they had taken at INSEAD, it always comes back to more soft skills. But again, it's a step in time, right? So that's why we have lifelong learning. So you don't need to do everything once you're at INSEAD. During your program, you also have opportunities to develop afterwards. But definitely in terms of soft skills, we have changed a few years ago. In 2018, we started this personal leadership development program because we thought it was an important part of providing students a backbone in their journey to have professional leadership coaching that allows them to learn more about themselves. That's basically how I would look at leadership development. So we have a formalized program. It's called the Personal Leadership Development Program. You start from the very get-go, you get being put into your learning groups, and you have a coach that will help facilitate these discussions. So you learn from others. The way I look at it is like, you know, when you have this diversity around you and everyone holds up their or gives you feedback, it's like holding up a mirror that has a different culture and different industry, different background type of reflection on you. And you learn so much from that in this environment. So this is an important part of the leadership development journey at INSEAD that's formalized. And then it's obviously, as I said before, it's a lot about the team, the group work that you do in academics, as well as on the club side, that give you this opportunity to practice your leadership and team kind of skills.
Yeah, with all of those backgrounds, with all of those cultures, perspectives, if I sat down with perhaps not 1,000 INSEAD graduates in any year, but just a group of alumni, perhaps they'd all share a very personal and distinct experience. But what are some of the common things? You talked about how those soft skills have proved to be so precious to them. It's a school that they become an ambassador and an ongoing network all over the world. What are the sort of feedback that INSEAD alum often provide?
Feedback, okay, so I think people are super excited during the year, and most often after 1 year ends, they're a little bit sad that it ends, right? It's been an intense year, so they now transition to a working life. So I think at that time we ended at the peak, which is a good time to end any sort of learning or experience. But when they are afterwards in their jobs, in their careers, I think their feedback is that they look back and they say, it sounds a bit cheesy, but oftentimes it is that they're saying it's been the best year of my life. You can see it because you get to focus on yourself, right? As an MBA student, one of the things that you do is it's really about your development, personal, leadership, career-wise, and social, right? And along all of these dimensions, our program is built around those dimensions, which is why I think in terms of 1 year, it's going to be hard to pack anything more into 1 year in terms of experience, learning, career development, socializing. Usually you would take a lot longer to build these relationships. Usually it takes a lot longer to build this knowledge base. So that's why I think most of our alumni come and voluntarily say like, okay, this has been the best year of my life. And again, we hear it from the ones who did their MBAs in the 1960s, but also the recent alumni who really appreciate this unique experience.
Right. We encourage our viewers, of course, to make those connections with current students or alums, because I think that statement of the best year of your life, to really then be able to explore, dig down into some of those details that made it such a fascinating and transformational experience. So what comes next? As your head of degree programs, you've introduced a master's in management, looking at online delivery of certain programs. But for the flagship MBA, how do you think the program will continue to evolve in the next 3, 5, 10 years to adapt and respond to both what students and the market is looking for?
So I think, I see two big trends from a topical point of view, and then I can a bit comment on how we address it. So one is obviously the digital transformation. It continues. The other one is maybe broadly called sustainability. If you're thinking of ESG type topics, those are, for me, the two big trends for the next 5 to 10 years. And it's certainly something that, from a skill point of view, our graduates will need to be able to contribute in their jobs, and then as leaders of their entrepreneurial ventures or of their businesses. So from my point of view, like topic-wise, these are the key things. Interesting is that across any change, you need the ability to lead the change, independent of what's coming. So our MBA program obviously can't foresee what's happening in 10 years' time, but what we can know for now is that, you know, we will still need to lead change. So a lot of what we think is key to the MBA program is still that we need to develop leaders, and the leaders will need to have a solid compass as to, you know, what is it, in which direction should you be leading your organization, your people. And that solid compass is something that we need to build. So the moral of why we're doing what we're doing, the responsibility of why we're doing what we're doing, and really alert students more and more of, maybe in economics we call it externalities, but side effects of your inventions, of your choices that mean well, but everything has a side effect. And so from a program point of view, what we want to really help the skills, but also the soft skills to make those changes. So what does that mean concretely in terms of innovations? Is in both of those areas around digital transformation and sustainability, we've obviously started to develop a lot more electives that allow students to specialize, so that when they know I can do sustainable finance as my next job, I can be the expert and help lead in these roles. Or if I have digital transformation position, I can hone my sort of skills by taking these in electives. What we're doing over the next 2 years is sort of a curriculum review to make sure that we look at all our core skills that we want to teach, and see whether there's any changes that we need to make to the core curriculum, so that we are adjusting and adapting to these new trends. So I don't have a concrete outcome of that process yet. That's in the making. But again, it's just exciting to also think about it from a fundamental perspective as a school. Why is it that these tensions between business and society exist? What has it been that we have been teaching as business schools in the past that have led to such strong tensions? And what can we do to alert and inform both research and then in teaching how to improve on this? So we're in a deep dive at the moment, and hope to have more and more progress made to deliver to our MBAs now and then in the future even more.
Right, and we've discussed the diversity of the student body, but of course the staff and the senior leadership team that bring their own diversity to look at those societal and economic challenges. Well, it is an exciting future, and Urs, I know the demands on your time. We were delighted to be able to welcome you to Centre Court to share those sort of insights and see where the school might be heading next. Thank you very much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure. Thank you, Matt.